Have you ever failed at something in your life which led you to believe you would continuously fail at everything else? Well, you're not alone. It is actually really common for people to stop trying at something because they believe they will fail. The thing is, the more you try to shield yourself from it, the harder it will become to encounter the failure you will encounter in your life. But you might be wondering, a lot of people want to be successful in their lives, but I hate to break it to you, that is not realistic. The more you try, well, you might be wondering, why the negativity? But the reality is that I'm not trying to be negative. I'm just trying to share with you the cost you might pay when you don't try. What are the things you're missing out of because you're so afraid of failing? You might find that failure brings more positives than negatives. It is actually helping you build character development and strengthening individuals. If you redirect your perspective on failure, you might find yourself achieving a greater course of action and consequently better results for yourself. Now, why is this relevant to you or whoever is listening? Well, if you want to become an entrepreneur, you will encounter many, many moments of failure and doubt. Me, myself, I am really interested in creating business opportunities for myself. So I believe it is of great value for you to learn from my experiences in order to potentialize your abilities and become a great entrepreneur. In a business, there will always be times where you're thinking about success and if your business will have any. However, there will always be second guessing. And for many people, their ideas will just stay as ideas. However, success will definitely not happen if you don't try. In a business scope, for example, I myself have encountered many obstacles. And in the world, people will try to motivate you by telling you phrases and motivational phrases. However, if they tell you motivational phrases, it's possibly because they're scared too of failing. If you redirect your perspective on failure, you might find yourself achieving great things. Think about it as a plant that you have to keep watering in order for it to bloom. I myself have encountered many obstacles within my businesses that have caused me to limit myself and my potential because I was so afraid that I could potentially fail. For example, I limited myself because of my age. I thought that if I was too young, I could not achieve anything. And it is usually a common misconception that teenagers or young adults like myself cannot achieve or be an entrepreneur. However, I think you should take advantage of the skills and abilities you have at certain stages in your life. For example, let's say usually you're attributed with a lack of responsibility and maturity because you're too young. And that will make society believe that you're not capable of achieving what you want. However, that is not necessarily true. Since I was very young, I started selling a lot of things for myself and to earn my own money. And basically, when I started selling these things, I found out that it was a really rewarding experience. Not about the money itself, but about the confidence I gained after. I started selling things when I was around in 6th grade. If I was not selling banana breads, I was selling bracelets. If not, I was selling arts or crafts or even vegetables from my garden. It was a really rewarding experience. And however, I'm still passionate about it till this day. My greatest achievement up till now was managing a healthy snacks business through freshman year in high school to senior year. It was actually really fun, but it came with its challenges. I was distributing products to my clients all over Querétaro and even managed to place them in different schools in Querétaro. It seems really easy when I tell it to you, doesn't it? Well, in reality, that is because I'm not telling you the challenges I had to overcome to get where I am today. I had to put into practice call prospecting abilities, which is basically the act of reaching to potential clients and customers that have had no prior interaction with you or your business. It is one of the things that have cost me the most. I took an uncontrollably amount of courage to go into clients' doors and knock and sell my product, especially because it was a product that was not commonly known by a lot of people. I might seem really successful to you, don't I? Well, in reality, I have encountered many obstacles along my life. For example, a lot of people when selling my healthy snacks told me no, which is a really hard word to process when you're just starting out. However, other people told me yes, which led me to help me expand my business. I remember that I was starting to sell banana breads. I don't remember the age. However, it was a really successful business. The first time, I started selling around 15 loaves of bread a day. Then, the next time that I tried it, it was not as successful as I would thought. I was really disappointed. I had two options, either to continue to try or to give up. The easy way out was to give up. However, I continued to try it, and I turned things around. So you see, I am proof that things can happen in a good way, that you can turn things around, especially if you're young. Now, for my business of healthy snacks, I started doing it when I was really young, and I was scared. I started to spiral down a negative thought route about questioning my abilities. I started to think to myself, What if nobody buys my product? What if I simply just look stupid? Or what if I lose my initial investment? And that is okay. However, it stopped me from enjoying the process. Yes, I didn't know if there was going to be any success at all. And the thing is, you never know. Even if you're completely sure of a business idea, there will always be chances that you fail, and that is okay. Now, you might be wondering, how do I actually conquer these fears and limitations? The first thing you have to understand is that you don't have to conquer it in a week. It takes a lot of time and a constant effort. So, what if I told you that in order to deal with this fear, you should lean into it? So let's do an exercise. Try to imagine yourself in the worst case scenario for your business. Think of everything that could possibly go wrong. Maybe nobody buys your product, or maybe you simply lose your investment, or maybe somebody criticizes your idea and you end up embarrassed. Instead of using this to scare you, analyze it. If this were to happen, what were the things you could do to prepare it? So for example, let's say you're scared of failing because somebody criticized your idea. You could ask for feedback from somebody you trust. If you're scared of losing your money, maybe you could cut down on costs, or even try and find ways to prepare yourself and make tests before fully committing to your business idea. This exercise isn't meant to make you scared. It's actually made into taking you into action. The more you prepare yourself, the more you reduce uncertainty and less stress, making decisions easier for you. However, you need to be careful, because if you spiral down to analyze the situation a lot harder, you will make yourself scared, and maybe you wouldn't want to be and start your business. However, that is why you have to remember that failure cannot be eliminated completely. It is something that happens, and it's part of the process, and that is okay. Now, for the second thing, we're going to go back to a question that I planted earlier. What is the price you're paying because you're not trying? So let's say that you have a business idea that has been sitting around for a really long time, but you haven't gotten around it because you're scared. What are the opportunities you're missing out on? What is something that you could have already built for yourself, but you're not trying, so you're basically letting it go? You could have already learned new skills, abilities, and you could have also expanded your networking, but you didn't do it because you were scared. Now, in order to overcome this, we will do an exercise where you write down all of your fears and ask yourself, what is this fear costing me? Once you have that, you can actually start reflecting on yourself. This exercise isn't made to shame yourself. It is actually made to make you aware of the things how fear is controlling you. However, it might take a lot of time. So also you have to remember that playing it safe is not the safest option. And this exercise will help you make yourself aware. Now let's redirect into something that is holding people back, but quietly. Limiting beliefs. Limiting beliefs are, basically, we have our own ideas about ourselves that we built over time. Some of them are positive, and some of them are actually straining us back. Maybe you believe you're not a good entrepreneur, or maybe you believe that you're not the type to succeed. For example, let's say you're at public speaking, and it's your first time speaking in public, and you made one mistake, and people laughed at you. Then from now on, you will believe you're really bad at public speaking. And from that moment on, you will continue to add every mistake you make into that belief. But what if that belief isn't true? Beliefs aren't just facts. They're simply ideas that you've put on yourself. So, to break the cycle, I have come up with another activity for you. What you have to do is identify the limiting belief for yourself, and then challenge it. What if instead of saying, I am really bad at public speaking, you start saying, well, I'm getting better at public speaking. And instead of saying, I'm a really bad entrepreneur, you're saying, I am getting better at being an entrepreneur and selling things. That will redirect your mindset of your beliefs, and consequently, redirect who you think of as yourself. And that can change everything. However, you have to remember that this is a really long process. It's not something that happens overnight. However, the more constant and the more time you take spending on yourself and helping yourself out, you will find a greater course of action. Similarly, you also might find that your limiting beliefs resurface again. So it's your job to redirect them back to your new beliefs and consequently create your new reality. I think that you are capable, all of you right here in this room, to achieve whatever you want, to ultimately become your better version of yourself. Either if that's being a version of yourself that isn't afraid of failure, either if that's a version of yourself that isn't afraid of challenges or mistake, and even if that's a version of yourself that takes a step forward into your dreams and goals. I believe you can create any entrepreneurial dream or goal. The only thing you have to do is believe in yourself and choose to take a step forward. Thank you.